Today I feel New York is really my personal property. Right down Broadway to City Hall. Every supermarket, every 5 and 10, all of Lincoln Center and the great UN, they're all my personal property. I've got your number and what you're looking for, and what you're looking for just suits me fine. Private world
is sweet like this, complete like this, far beyond the throne, sure and strong, we belong
together. All I want in this world is some kind of music that my heart can listen to and cheer.
Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. Who or what are you celebrating today? I brought a little yellow into the mix today because it feels like spring outside. It's cold, but the sun is shining and it's a gorgeous day, and spring is around the corner, and I'm very excited. That, of course, was Jeff Harner. And I have to say that that album is one of my favorite albums of the past year, or any year for that matter. And what's better than listening to Jeff Harner, having him here on the show? And here he is. Hello, Jeff.
Hi, Richard.
I am so glad that Ann Kittredge made it. I can see her in the wings. I sent the wrong link out to Barbara and everyone. So it's one of those things. So who or what are you celebrating today, Jeff?
Well, wow. I first of all, just that you showed that clip is extraordinary, because that recording with Ann Hampton Callaway and Liz Callaway was, just one of the highlights of last year. I went to high school with them, so to come 45 years later to be in a recording studio for that album, and I'm so glad that moment's captured on film. So thank you for showing that. I celebrate that.
Who
That
did
happened.
the videography for that? Because it's a really great, well put together demo.
Shoshana Feinstein and Robert Edridge Wax put it
Now, I
together.
have to ask you, today is called No One Eats Alone Day. And I'm going to explain what that means for those who don't know. A lot of kids in school are either loners, or they're sitting in the lunchroom by themselves, because there's the popular kids and they're the unpopular kids. So this day was really set aside for that purpose. But I celebrate that all the time, because I never want to see anyone sitting alone anywhere. So were you a popular kid in school, Jeff?
Well, let's just say I had a trajectory that went up, which is great, because when I got to high school, I was underdeveloped and overweight, and really had to find my place. But by the end of high school, I had a wonderful circle of friends that are still in my life today. I'm very, very fortunate to have that continuity, including classmates like Liz Callaway and Ann Callaway. But
Well, I was
so
going to
many
say,
others.
I mean, were you friends in school as well?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I was in the chorus when Ann played Mame, and she was in the chorus when I played Will Parker in Oklahoma. And Liz and I played opposite each other in Kismet, La Lume and Hajj. So, and there's YouTube footage if you want to look it up. She's just as dazzling at age 16 as she is now. It was always
Yes.
evident.
Yes, and she's still 16 in my eyes. I mean, they're
Yes,
both of them. I mean, and Liz Callaway being nominated for a Grammy Award this year.
I know.
I mean, it's well, I mean, all of you. I mean, thank God that we are all putting out product. We're putting out music to make people smile and have a good time. I heard someone say the other day, I wish I could remember who said it, how lucky we are to be in a profession that is all about making people happy.
Yes, and I would add to that just personally how lucky to be in one where actually I think the value goes up with our age. For instance, 4 days ago, I just saw all the talents of you come together in a supernova with what you did at the Laurie Beachman Theater on 42nd Street. That was just a thrill. It was everything about you that's great. Your wonderful skill as a host, your wonderful, Broadway pipes, your connection to Carol Channing, and your love of Hello Dolly. Just all. I hope that show tours so that more people
I
get to
hope so. But I want to
experience
give
what I
credit
did.
where it's due, and that's James Beeman
Oh,
is the best director that I have ever
oh,
worked with. And I know that you are a phenomenal director. I can
I
say
am
that
a good enough director to see his hand in everything that he did. That show was so smart. Oh my God.
James
From
and
moment one.
Dan Pardo, my musical director, Liza Minnelli once said, and I'm sure that you feel the same way, it's great being in front of an audience, but the magic happens in the rehearsal studio, in the rehearsals. And every time I had a rehearsal with these two men, my endorphins just went through the roof. It was just so exciting to be a part of that. But I want to talk about you, not me. So you, I want to know when you sleep, because not only are you working, and I've got your upcoming performances on the bottom of the screen, but you also are directing so many great artists. I was talking to our mutual friend Judy Mark this morning, and she's going to be bringing her show back. But look at this schedule, everyone. Monday, March 11th, Birdland. Monday, Thursday through Thursday, March 25th through the 28th, Delray Beach Playhouse, Centers for the Arts in Bonita Springs, Davenport, and I'm sure that there are other irons in the fire as well. How do you wear so many hats and do it so brilliantly?
I have a lot of help around me. I don't do anything alone, and it's really more manageable than it looks. I mean, it's I'm very, very lucky to be doing what I love to do with people that I love to do it with in this place that I love. So it's just a very happy time in my life.
Well, I'm happy that in the midst of your busy schedule that you popped by today. I know that you're going to leave a little early today, but I hope you'll stick around for a little bit.
Yes, I would love to.
Okay, good. Now, as I do on every Friday, I always have 5 mystery cards laid out. And so pull a number 1 through 5, and then I'm going to let you help us bring on our next guest.
5. Let's go for 5.
And that's always a good number for me. What's something that you did this week that you think you'll never do again?
I can't think of one that I think I'll never do again. I saw wonderful theater, wonderful movies. I worked with wonderful people.
Here's one of them right now.
I'm sorry, I don't have. Oh, look at that. Hi,
And you
Therese.
can't wait for the write-off room in April.
I can't wait to see you in April, too.
Oh,
Richard, I don't think I had a major misstep this week. Maybe someone who's watching can remind me. But
speaking of brilliant shows, Therese, I saw the show twice. And I would see it again. It was just that incredible.
she had a great story to tell, and she told it magnificently. Yeah.
Yes.
That was,
Therese, you and I will talk soon as well. So let's bring on our next guest. There are 3 people waiting in the wings. So pull the number 1 through 3.
Oh, I do that?
Yes.
Let's do number 3.
And she also has a new show. She's going to be at Pangea with the incredible Austin Pendleton, and that's Barbara Bleier. And I'm so glad you're back.
I'm so glad to be back with you.
Yes, and your show was also one of the best shows that I saw, and you're bringing it back with Austin Pendleton and Gretchen Cryer and Richard Maltby Jr. The show is magic, and it's just so much. It's just such a fun show. Before we talk about that, because this is No One Eats Alone Day, I want to ask, were you a popular kid in school?
Not in grade school. I was the tallest girl in grade school. I had glasses and braces. I came from the only socialist family in Elmhurst, Queens, which was an Irish Republican neighborhood. And all my friends' parents, fathers were firemen or cops. And I just wanted to read my books and practice music. So, no, I was not.
Well, and I'm sure that Jeff will agree with me on this. Arts and education is very, very important because a lot of kids, I was one of them, I found my way because of arts and
Yeah.
education.
It
And I
saved
made
my life. It
saved
saved
my life, saved my
It's
life.
my life.
And I started performing with our local theater company when I was 13. And I remember walking into that theater for the first time. And it wasn't kids, it was adults that I was going to be on stage with. And that felt magical because I thought, wow, there's something to look forward to. When did you find your niche, Barbara?
When I got into music and art high school, which is now Fiorello LaGuardia High School of the Performing Arts, and suddenly I was home. And from then on in, yes, I was a popular kid.
Well, some people may not know this, but you are a classically trained pianist, and you, at a very early age, were performing at Carnegie Hall.
Yeah. Which didn't make me any more popular.
That was my next question. Did that make a difference with your classmates?
No, no. I was still the weird kid who went home to practice and who almost got hit by a car crossing the street because I was reading a book.
Wow, wow. Well, let's talk a little bit about your show. It's coming up again in Pangea. I've got, details below. All of you in this show have such a rich tapestry of relationships that have crisscrossed throughout your lives,
Yes.
and you bring it magically together. Whose idea was the show to begin with?
Well, it started. I was doing solo cabaret, and I wanted to do more, the song More. No, I'm sorry, There. Richard Maltby and David Shire's song There from Closer Than Ever. And it required a male singer. And I was taking an acting class with Austin at the time. And I thought, well, he's a male singer. So I asked him if he'd do the song with me on my show. And he said, "You're offering me one song?" And I said, well,
Yeah, we've all done that. I love that.
And I said, "Would you like half a show?" And from then on, we've been a duo. In fact, we were at Davenport's back in 2000, I think, Jeff. You were at Davenport's also, and I think we had the apartment that you had after you used it, the one with the furnace.
I had that apartment.
Oh my God.
You had it too?
Yes,
Oh my God, we all shared an apartment.
I want to go back to Davenport's because
I
my
love
experience there was not a good one. It was many, 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 many years ago. And they never opened my box of programs or anything, and no one came. No one even knew that I was there. And but I had a trip to Chicago, so that was it. The next night was better because I opened for Pat Benatar at Milwaukee Pride. So that was exciting. So what is it? And I hope, when I bring our next guest on, text or call Austin, because I sent everybody the wrong link, and I sent him an email. I hope he got it.
I know it was on from 4:45 and nothing was happening.
Well, that's because I sent you the wrong link.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you made it here. But what is it about working with Austin? There's such a chemistry with the two of you that I love.
Well, for openers, we love each other, and I think that really counts. Um, and we've been through a lot of stuff together. I mean, we're good friends, and we can kind of sometimes finish one another's sentences, and have standing jokes, and and I really adore Austin. I mean, what I love is that he'll never do the same thing twice, and it keeps me on my toes.
Then that's a good thing. I love him dearly. So we're going to bring on our next guest in a moment, but as I just did with Jeff, there are 4 mystery cards laid out. So pull the number 1 through 4, and we'll find out what your question is.
Have you changed them? I don't want
I mix them up all the time, so I never know what they're going to be.
All right, I'm going to pick 2.
2, and it says, well, this is a statement. So I'm going to ask you. I mean, when it comes to your career, is this a true statement or a false statement? My actions are intentional, and they bring me closer to my goals. Do you feel that you are in control of your career, or do you feel that your career is a result of circumstance?
Both, really, I have to say. I'm thinking of, I think it was one of the Beatles who said, luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
That's right.
And it's kind of like that. I've always been a musician. I've seized opportunities when they've come. Sometimes they've fallen in my lap. Sometimes I've worked my tailbone off to get them. But I love making music.
Now, Barbara, I want to say 2 things. First of all, you look incredible. You look
Thank
great.
you.
No, that's number 1. And number 2, your new home looks so beautiful. The last time you were on this show, everything was in boxes because
Yes.
you were in the process of moving.
Yes.
Do you like the new home?
Yes, I do. I like it a lot.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, Barbara, you're going to bring on our next guest. So, door number 1 or door number 2?
Oh, interesting. Well, I picked 2 last time, so I think I'll pick 1.
And again, she has one of the best debut shows that I think I have ever seen. Here she is, Camille Diamond. And when they say diamonds are a girl's best friend, they're a guy's best friend as well. Camille, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. I have to say, I am Barbara. I saw old friends. Jeff, I've seen you many times. I've seen Anne. I'm kind of fangirling just to be here. I'm like, wow, you're honestly, you're all wonderful. And so I feel very honored to be here. And of course, Richard, I just saw your show too, which of course blew my mind. So here we are.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're doing it again, March 29th, everyone.
March 29th. I'm writing it
March
down.
29th. But Camille, in school, were you a popular kid? Or what was your situation in school?
Exactly the same as Barbara and Jeff. In elementary school, I was like the pudgy kid who was like a little too dramatic. But by the time I got to high school, you're right, theater saves lives. We had a thriving theater department, and the people who did theater and did well in theater actually had kind of a platform. And I had what I like to call a horizontal popularity. It wasn't vertical. It wasn't like everybody looked to me like the queen, but I had a lot of friends spread out across all, different parts of the school. And I even like this is so funny. When I was a senior, I was actually like the homecoming queen first attendant, which is like, first runner up, which is really funny considering I really hated football. But yeah.
Now, Camille, I am gonna fangirl out myself because I was at your first performance of your show. Jeff was there as well. It's one thing when you are putting this show together. I've gone through my rehearsal process. I've worked on everything, getting ready for this, and then it all happens. Did it come out the way that you had envisioned it, or was it beyond what you had expected?
Well, as far as the show itself, I had a very specific experience and a very specific thing that I wanted to say. I wanted to make sure, I mean, I've always been a deeply spiritual person who believes in everything just a little bit, nothing 100%, but just, in astrology as much as anything else, why not, I found it to be a great, meditative exercise to learn more about my own life. It kind of dovetailed nicely with like the artist way and some other things that I was doing. And so I had the specific message about what I wanted to say. What I didn't expect was that it would resonate so much with so many people. I'm really grateful for that. I'd hoped that it would, I always said, if I do a cabaret show, I don't like, I don't want to be just like another, woman who whose kids are a little older now, and I think I'll do a show, I wanted it to mean something. I wanted it to mean something to me, and I wanted it to be meaningful to the people who came. And I am so grateful that people got it. And I'm grateful to my creative team, also who helped shepherd me along.
Well, let's give kudos to
yeah.
them. I mean,
Lenny Watts, he really got me and got it. Stephen Ray Watkins, we had so much fun. There were, they would say, "Oh, how about this song?" And I'd go, "I don't know." And then Stephen would go, but how about this way? And then he would play it, and I'd go, "Oh, I see." And then, we had something really special. So yeah, it was just, as you say, the creative process itself is it's so worth it. Even if you come out with something that that you don't envision, somehow the creative process itself is such a joy. It's always worth it.
So what did you learn about yourself from that night? Not the show itself, but from that night.
Well, the first thing I learned was I was surprised by how many people from my past came. There was there was a huge group of people that I had worked with 10 years ago, and they all kind of worked under the scenes. It was like sort of the best of from that job. They all came, and that was amazing. I guess I learned I said something and people laughed. I learned that sometimes it's not what you plan, but if you're really listening to what's in the room, if you studied Meisner technique, and you're really reacting, if your audience is your other and you're really listening and really present, what will come out will surprise you and delight you. That was great. And I also was thrilled with, I'm sure everybody who does cabaret at some point while they're rehearsing goes, "Oh golly, the endurance this takes."
I know.
And
that increases as we get older.
And if you've done musical theater, well, you get a break, you go backstage, you drink water, you have maybe 3 big numbers, but this was something. So I was delighted that it was, both the practice and I think the adrenaline that helped me have that endurance that I needed. And that was good.
That's great. We're going to bring on our next guest. But before we do, pull a number 1 through 3.
2.
And your card is, if you had to change your name, what would you change it to? Or have you ever thought about that?
Yes. Okay. So this is the first story that comes up. I used to say when I was in graduate school, I got my MFA in acting. And as I was doing all of this and really, I wanted to be a professional actress and I was studying, I recognized that I wasn't a type the way that they were really looking at types. And the name Camille Diamond to me seemed like a person who would be tall and willowy and would like burst into a audition room wearing a slip and a fur, something Camille Diamond. Oh, and I thought, maybe a better name for me might be something like Bambi Schwartz, a little shorter, a little charactery.
I'm glad you stuck with Camille Diamond.
Yeah. But Bambi Schwartz was my alter ego. Be like, "Oh, Bambi, shut up." It was kind of fun.
That's great. Well, just before we went live today, when I was waiting for everyone to come in, and I must have sent out the wrong link because nobody was showing up. I was listening to the radio and this song came on, and it happens to be one of my favorite songs ever written. But the interesting thing is that our next guest had just sent me this song as well. So I think it was Kismet. And here she is, and I'll bring her on in just a moment.
Run down to Donny Home through hilly bays, Kilkerry and Kildare. How are things in Gloucester? Is that willow tree still weeping there? Does that laddie with the twinkling eye come whistling by?
And I love that. I want more.
I have to tell you, I reached out to Jeff because that was from the Mabel Mercer convention a couple of years ago, and Jeff's night of hosting, but unfortunately he was sick that night.
I remember.
But
I remember.
I can't even tell you. I mean, you put these things out and you get 100 responses over a matter of time. It's been out for a month, and I just saw the stats the other day, and it's up to 14,000 streams, and I'm like, why are people so into this one? It's so corny.
No, it's not corny. No, I absolutely love it, and I love the yellow dress that you're wearing.
Well, that's Andrea's. Andrea Marcovici gave me that dress. Yes, she wanted me to wear it for my when I did the show with her, so I did, and it was beautiful, right?
I'm wearing a top that Amanda McBroom gave me.
Oh, nice.
Well, no one else has worn this as far as I know. So, Anne, in school, were you the popular kid or were you not?
Well, so yes and no. So my high school closed at the end of my junior year, and then I had to go to another school for my senior year. So in the school that I was in for 3 years, I was actually class president. But then when I went into the new school, I was the loser.
Well, I was going to ask, did those students transfer as well? Or
No.
was it, no?
No, there was only one other person from my initial high school that ended up in the same high school with me. So
I went to school. I grew up in a small town in South Carolina. The kids that I went to grammar school with are the same kids that I went to high school with. I mean, when I got to high school, kids from all these other schools were converged together, but it was pretty much the same kids that I went to school with all through, from the second grade. Our family moved in when I was in the first. From the second grade through the 12th grade, it was the same kids.
Now, I went from an all-girls school, which I did well at, to a co-ed school, which I had no social skills for. I was just clueless, and it showed. And yeah, that was a rough year, but it was there was some good things to it too, though.
Well, I also want to mention that you have this incredible new CD, and the CD is it's going to be launching. Has it launched or it's about to launch?
No. So you were asking Jeff, what was the one thing you won't do, or something about that that's sweet. And I have to tell you, today we just approved the final mixes. They're going to mastering next week. So it's like this, like it's locked in. You know what I mean? It's locked in now. So yeah, it's exciting.
And I've heard some of the tracks. I want to ask you, because you just did something this Tuesday night, that I did the previous Tuesday night. And I want to give a shout out to Susie Mosier, who runs the lineup like a well-oiled machine. I know you've done it, Camille. Jeff, have you done the lineup?
Oh, yes, several times. And I have to say goodbye.
Oh,
love to you all. Shabbat shalom.
Welcome to my table.
See you around.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt.
So much. That's
Bye
okay.
for now.
Say hello to Tova for me.
I will.
Thank you. So, Barbara, you've got to get on. You and Austin should do the lineup.
What? I don't know.
Susie Mosier at Birdland.
Oh.
And I will reach out on your behalf if you'd like.
Oh, that would be lovely.
Yes, you should both do it. But Anne, you and I spoke, and I don't want to give away too much. You reached out to me with a particular song that you did not know how it would go over as a one-in, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do that song, or did you go in another direction?
I went in another direction because the reason I wanted to be a part of that particular show was because it was around Valentine's Day, and my album is Romantic Notions, and I thought, and I thought it would be more of a surprise if I did an upbeat. So I ended up not doing that one, but you know how close it is to my heart. I'm very excited about it.
Oh, I love it. And we're going to show another clip of yours a little later on in the show because I think it'll be a great way to go out today. So, do you enjoy, and I want to ask each of you this question. Barbara mentioned when she reached out to Austin that his first initial reaction was one song. And we've all done these moments where we do one song. But what is your feeling about doing these nights where you do one song? Do you feel the same stress as you do when you're putting a full show together, or is it a different type of stress for you?
I think it's the same. I literally, we were talking about this backstage the other night, waiting to go on Susie's show. I was talking to someone else who was in the show, and I said, I wish I wasn't nervous every single time before I went on stage. And I'm with Chris, my music director, and I'm like, Chris, I'm forgetting the words. And he said, Ann, he said, you've sung this. You've sung it in performance. You're going to be fine. I said, no, I'm literally not remembering the words. So he's emailing me the music so that I can double check that. I mean, I don't know why we do this to ourselves.
No, but I mean, for me, it's more stressful than doing a full show because that audience, a lot of them don't know me. They have not invested their time and energy to come and see me. So I feel that, I really have to prove myself tonight. And, after my rehearsal with Susie, God bless her, she said, you're opening the show. So I was the very first one out the night that I did it. Barbara, do you feel the same way?
I'm with you. When it's just one song, it's like the 16 bars when you go to audition.
Thank you.
I mean, it really doesn't. First of all, things don't go well with that song. That's it. Mm-hmm. Secondly, it doesn't give me a chance to sort of get to know and have a relationship with the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. And too, because the song that I ended up singing, we have this really a Latin infused version of I Just Called to Say I Love You, which is what we ended up doing. And it's got, I mean, the on the recording, it's got saxophone, electric guitar, bass, drum, percussion, piano. And of course, we couldn't have the sax. But Sean Harkness happened to be there that night, and he's on the album. And so I said, I don't want you to be your guitar part in this tonight. I want you to be the saxophone part. Just like, just be crazy and go through it. And at one point, Chris looked at me and he said, are you crazy? He said, we don't get to rehearse with these people. And you're like, you're throwing caution to the wind. And I have to tell you, it excites me with the threat of a mess, because I think that Susie brings, I wouldn't do it if I didn't think they were good. I mean, John Miller, for Pete's sakes, are you really worried about what he's going to do? Do you know what I mean?
And Sean, and of course, I mean, I will say this. I mean, working for those who don't know, who are thinking of doing the show, you don't rehearse with the band.
No, just with the pianist.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
But with that said, I was thinking to myself, but this is the chance, because if I do crash and burn, Susie is so wonderful that it'll probably end up the highlight of the night. She will figure out a way to make it the highlight of the night. So it's kind of my chance to just have fun and take a chance with these, fellow musicians and see what we do. And it kind of gives me a thrill. It was really fun to do that, I have to say.
I mean, what's your experience? I mean, going in and doing, I'm sure we've all done open mics. We've done benefits. We've done these things where you get one moment. What is your experience doing these?
Well, I agree completely. Doing one song is much harder because, first of all, if you're last, you're just back there eating your heart out, just waiting until it's your time.
Were you last?
At Susie, I was second to last when I went on Susie Mosher, but when I did the Mama's Next Big Act contest, right? So there were many times when I was last, and I'm just back there pacing and trying to. But I think the other thing about doing one song is that I don't don't feel like I have as robust a choice if I'm only going to do one song. Whereas if I feel in the mood to do a very light ballad, I might feel like, well, if I only got one shot, I better get out there and be like, "Ra-da-da-da-da-da," and be funny and, and belt and stuff. If I only have one chance to show these people, give them a chance to remember me, for instance, So I'm not as chancy. And I really kind of admire what you said there, that you're like, this is exciting. We'll just do whatever. I'd like to get to that point. That would be a goal for me.
Well, I'm going to ask each of you, and I'll start with you, Anne. When you are doing a one-off, do you prefer a ballad or an up-tempo?
It depends on the show. It depends on if there's a theme to the show. If because I have done really, really quiet things at Susie's show. And I've done upbeats, but it depends on the theme, honestly. I'm not afraid of, I know this sounds a little bit, but I'm not afraid of anything that I really understand the story of. If I am telling the story, it doesn't matter what kind of song it is. What matters is if it connects with me and the audience. And I have confidence that if I know the story, that's what's going to happen. And I so prefer to touch people's hearts in a quiet way than to get them robustly going crazy and nuts. That's great too. Don't get me wrong. That's what I did the other day. But there is something, because people don't expect it either. People don't expect you to actually move them in an event like that, right? So when you do, it really sticks out.
I think that's a challenge I'm going to take up.
No, go ahead, Camille.
No, I just said that's a good challenge for me for the future. I think I'm going to pick that up next time I have a chance. That's all.
Well, since we're with you now, same question. Do you prefer to do an up-tempo? Or I agree with what Anne said. It's a big decision to make. You've got one song to do, and you also don't know until that evening where you're going to be in the lineup, and that's true of any show where there are multiple entertainers. You don't know where you're going to be in the lineup, and choosing that one song to make that impact so that the audience hopefully is going to remember you on a positive note. Although I can't think with anyone here that would not be the case. But how do you go about choosing the song that you're going to do? Well, let's talk specifically about Susie and how she's getting free publicity today. When you did the show, how did you go about choosing which song was going to be the right song?
What I did is I asked Susie what she would prefer. I said, what is your show? What are people doing? What kind of different thing might you need, in this particular lineup? And she had said that, in that particular lineup, she had some, beautiful voices who were going to lean in more towards that. And that maybe, me getting up and doing something funny and more comedic might fit the show well. And so that's what I did. I was pleased with the way that it went, but I was also grateful that she said that, because that is my comfort zone, no question. Especially if there's just one song.
That's great.
Yeah.
Barbara, same question.
Well, I have to say that my favorite songs are probably ballads. And they're story songs, and a lot of them haven't been published. I mean, composers have been really kind and given me some of their work. And I love just communicating a story and telling a story. And I most likely would do that, whether it's up-tempo. I have some like that are up-tempo, and some that are ballads. But it would be, something that I would hope would catch the audience's attention, in the sense of, not looking at me necessarily, but being interested in the story.
Great. So I'm going to do a little round robin with all of you on the creative process, as I do on my Friday shows. And so my first question, Anne, and I know that because you and I are friends, we talk a lot and we cover all bases.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we certainly do. But where do you feel that you are what is your current situation in terms of your career? Are you where you want to be? Are you feel that you're hitting a zone? And I will say that you came back to this business after taking a little time off to raise your two beautiful, lovable, I'm crazy about them kids.
Thank you. I'm not there yet, and I feel like I'm on track. I'm really the reason why we did this second album so soon after the first one was because that seemed to be where the energy was.
Hmm.
And so I was like, Anne, this is your moment to go with the flow and see what happens, right? And it's a little awkward because it's not my first. I've been a live performer my whole life. So the idea of going into a recording studio so quickly again was a little like, what am I doing? But it was a magnificent experience, and I just feel like it's deepened me even more, and I I'm looking forward to bringing the record onto the stage, which is different. Usually the stage and then you go to the studio, right? For us live performers, that's what usually goes. I'm doing the opposite direction, and I'm very, very excited to see that it will work.
Well, I will say that I've heard some of the tracks and they are incredible, everybody. So everyone's in for a real treat when this comes out. Barbara, what words describe what is important to you when it comes to your art?
The first thing that comes to my mind really is communication. That's what it's about for me, whether I'm acting or whether I'm singing or whether I'm writing, whatever it is, it's communication.
Perfect. That's great. Camille, what small step can you take today that will put you on the path to something even more wonderful than what you've experienced with the last time you did the show?
Well, right now, because it's a week until, I'm going to be bringing it back, which is so exciting. For me, I want to feel like I'm strong in everything that is on my mind and in my heart before I step up on stage again. So, I'll be doing the tools of the trade, like making sure all the lyrics are there, making sure I'm, going over vocally, maybe one little spot where it didn't quite, nail it the way that I wanted to. Just so that I know that I feel secure, when you've done all the work and then you just step up and let hopefully magic happen. So that's in this week before, that's really what I'm thinking of today. And in fact, I was just talking to Mr. Stephen Ray Watkins. We're like, we're going to rehearse, do a bit of rehearsal this weekend and just, make sure everything's feeling good.
That's great.
Yeah, it's the chop wood, carry water thing.
And how do you feel that other people experience you in this with the work that you do? I mean, you can never know what someone else is actually experiencing. But what are your hopes that people experience when it comes to your work?
I hope that the reputation I'm building is that I really touch them. I mean, even if it's funny and bright, I mean, that's who I am as a performer. I dig deep, and I think it's my strength. And I've been gifted with an instrument, but it's the storytelling that I lean on because that's.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where you actually have that heart-to-heart connection. So that's what I hope. That's what I hope my reputation is becoming.
And it's the same thing that Barbara just said. It's communicating. It's getting that message across. Barbara, when it comes to working on your show, working on your craft, working on your art, what excites you the most?
I think discovering something in a song that I didn't know was there.
Yes.
Just a new way of looking at it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Camille, I think you should take another sip and you should do it slowly.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Should I do too?
Okay,
Cheers.
the handle broke off
Oh,
mine.
well, I'll get you another one. So, Anne, have you ever pursued, it's very interesting because, of course, I'm constantly reading about the subject of my show, Hello, Dolly. And I was reading the other day, and it was very interesting that Jerry Herman desperately wanted to be the composer for Dolly. And the writer said, be careful what you wish for, because it was not a pleasant experience for him because of a lot of things that were happening around the scenes at the time. Have you ever actively pursued something that you really wanted in this business and it turned out to be everything that you didn't want?
I'm sure. I'm sure that I had that experience. I mean, I've had challenging experiences, but I gotta be honest with you. I am such a cockeyed optimist that even those, I have things that I took out of it that I really enjoyed. I worked with a director who will not be named because he's kind of famous. And, I wanted the job really, really badly because he was directing it. And then he spent the time, I swear it became a joke in the rehearsal room. He said no every single time I brought something in, like every single rehearsal. And it became a joke. I mean, literally, like people would start giggling on the
Do
side.
you think, excuse me, but do you think that he was trying to elevate you, or do you think he was trying to squash you?
I think I wasn't his first choice. Is what I think. And I think he was trying to make me see the role the way maybe the person who he initially wanted to do it. And that, like, sorry, buddy, but it's not me. And I ended up getting grave reviews and all these different things, but I never heard from him. I never worked with him. Like, it was just not.
I've walked down that path more times than I'd like to talk about. So, Barbara, how did the beginning of your cabaret career challenge you?
Interesting. I remember feeling like a deer in the headlights for openers. But I had come from a classical music background, and I worked my way through school doing folk music in clubs. So it was very different. The intimacy, the breaking away from the classical, if it's a dotted quarter note, you got to hold it for a dotted quarter note. Right. And, it took me a while to really, develop some freedom with it and integrate it. Now, the O'Neill, as a matter of fact, was one of the places that was really very helpful to me in beginning in cabaret, working with Julie Wilson.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just magnificent.
Having her in the audience was one of the greatest experiences in the world. And she was always there. I don't know how she did it, but
I don't know how she did it either.
She came to so many shows.
She really helped me get under a lyric.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and that was one of the best experiences for me as a cabaret person.
Can I interject though?
Yes.
Barbara, I still learn a song the way it was originally written. I think it's important to know what they intended before you step away from it. And I do usually always step away from it eventually, but I think there's great value to that discipline.
Oh,
You know,
yes,
because people who just learn a song and it's like, well, it's, they're changing it before they even know what they're changing.
or it's somebody else's version of it. Or
Yeah.
no, I agree with you.
Yeah.
That's a very important point to make. Camille, what really delighted you this week when it comes to your art?
Well, I learned my daughter is doing a show right now. She's doing a youth theater version of The Prom. She's playing Dee Dee. And what I learned was that I am so grateful that creatively I have my own thing going on, because I really saw the temptation from an almost omnipotent view, how easy it would be to either be a mama rose and be like, and have that kid, try to live out my dreams, or be like Barbara Streisand's mother. I'm sure we all read her autobiography, where it was like, why are you praising her? I'm the same. So, I could see the temptation. I could feel how that could be if you didn't have your own creative thing going on in some capacity. So I found myself just being extremely grateful that that I have been working on something, that I love what I'm working on, that I carve time out to do that, and that I can be here to support her in hers, because she really surprised and delighted me. I expected to love I expected to love her on stage. I expected it. She's my daughter. I didn't expect to find her to be as she kind of blew me away. And that was exciting. And also she just turned 15. She spent her birthday, which is the day before Richard's birthday, in a theater doing a matinee and an evening performance. There's nowhere she would have rather been. So,
but you're also an artist. The thing that pops out, and my mom and Barbara's mom are the same person.
Well,
so I remember Barbara saying the first time that her mom saw her on a stage, the first thing her mom said when she came off stage was, "Your arms are too skinny."
No.
And that was that is my mom. If you're watching, Mom, you know it. So Anne, I'm going to start by saying you are an artist. What does your art give back to you?
I guess meaning. It's my happy place. When there's a lot of other stuff going on, and as you know, there's a lot of other stuff going on. To be able to go into that creative space is it's like a life raft. So I think it gives me meaning and shape. Yeah.
That's great. Barbara, what do you feel is the biggest injustice that you've ever faced in your career, and what got you through it?
All right. I came back to music after being away for a long period of time. And so when I did apply to the O'Neill, I was probably a good deal older than most of the people there. And I was very successful in what I had been doing during the years. I was a psychoanalyst. So I got turned down, and I said, why? And I was told that I already have a career, and I wouldn't be taking it seriously.
Wow.
And I said, hold it. I said, maybe 5 people in the world make their living at cabaret. I'm really lucky that I have something I can make my living at, that I can make a good living at, and I love doing. That doesn't mean I'm any less serious about what I want to do with and in music. And they admitted me.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, but I was so I was so put off with it.
I mean, think about Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe, at the top of her Hollywood career, left Hollywood and came to work with Stanislav work with
Lee
Yeah,
Strasberg.
Lee Strasberg. Thank you. My brain went to Lee.
That's okay.
Lee Strasberg, and and she, and people scoffed at her,
Yeah.
but she wanted to, and when you see her work after that, I mean, you can see the difference. I mean, she was a very serious actress, and I think sometimes underrated.
In fact, one of the best moments of my parenting came when my son, who was an actor, my younger son, decided he wanted to go to law school.
Mhm.
And he had an interview at one law school, and they said, "How do we know you won't go back to acting?" And he said, "Oh, I probably will. But in my family, we're used to having more than one profession at a time." And I thought, wow, okay, I did something right here.
Excellent.
That's great. I love that.
Mhm.
Camille, how did your show come to be?
How did it come? Oh, well, the story I tell. At the top of my show, I actually just say it right out there. I'm like, 2020 was crazy for everybody. For me, it was so clinically insane, beyond pandemic dark, that I desperately reached out to 3 different astrologers to find out what was going on. Like, one wasn't good enough. I needed backups and I needed receipts, and every single one of them said, "You're going through this really crazy transit in your chart that's going to last for 2 years, and it's going to be dark, and it's going to be right over your emotional life. So just like buckle in." And and I was doing the artist way, which we've talked about. You journal all the time, you're writing every morning. And it was out of those morning pages that, it was like, oh gosh, Pluto transit. Wouldn't that be an interesting cabaret show? It's everybody goes through dark times. Everybody was going through a particularly dark time. That particular transit in the astrological chart was affecting all of us and still does. We are collectively in a crazy time. There was a lot to really talk about, and also there's the possibility that it could all be just whatever, but it's interesting. And it flowed together pretty well once I sort of had the idea.
That's great. And I will say, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant show.
Thank you.
Anne, how did you feed your soul this week when it comes to art?
I saw the Sondheim piece on Broadway, and I saw two really good productions, and I also saw the play by a fellow Carnegie Mellon writer. Oh gosh, it came from off Broadway. It's about the Jews in France.
Oh,
French Republic, songs from the French Republic.
public, yeah.
And oh my gosh, both of them, like, wow.
Wow, that's great. Well, all of you have fed my soul today, so I want to thank you all for being here. My apologies to Austin if he got the wrong link. I don't know what happened, but Barbara, please apologize to him. And if he wants to come on the show next Friday, there's a spot for him at my table.
Okay, I will tell him.
Let him know. So because somehow there was a glitch when I sent them out this morning, and when I put in the new link, it didn't transfer over. So that's what happened with everybody. But it makes life a little bit more exciting, doesn't it? So anyway, I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank everybody who tuned in.
And I want to thank you. I mean, this is such a wonderful and warm and safe space.
Mhm.
You make it that way.
That's right.
Thank you. But thank you. This is my birthday week is concluding. I just turned 63. When I turned 60, no parties, anything. It was Zoom. It was a Zoom party. So it's been 4 years since I've done a show on stage. And Camille, thank you for being there.
Oh, I love it.
It was beyond anything that I had imagined. And on Super Bowl Sunday of all nights, it was such a great turnout. And I want to thank everybody who showed up. And it's the same thing for all of you who show up, not only today, but with any of the shows that I do and that any of us do. None of us take it lightly when you show up. It's important. What you can do to help this show this very show here is on my YouTube channel. Leaving a comment, even if you've left a comment here, leave a comment on YouTube. Hit the like button if you did indeed like the show. Share this. And if you are not a subscriber, consider subscribing through this show, because what all of those elements do, it helps build the analytics of where this shows up in the search engines. So it's important that you all do that. I'm going to give each of you a chance, as I do with all my shows, to have your final word of the day, words. It can be about anything that we spoke about that you want to build upon, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or just any final message that you would like to leave everyone with. I will pick one of you, then you'll pick the next person. And when the last person says goodbye, we've got a little treat from Anne that I'm going to share with everybody. So go see these shows. They are all phenomenal. Information will be on the YouTube channel as well. So it's easy to find them. And if you can't remember anything, contact me and I'll get you there. I end all my shows with the same message. Go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. After today's show, and I'd like you all to do the same thing, go to your Facebook friends list, reach out to the, let's say the third name that pops up, and reach out with a phone call. Not an email message, not a text message, not a private inbox message, a phone call. And let that person know the impact that they're making on your life. And by doing so, you're going to make an impact on their life. My dear friend Sean Moniger, he says, we're all in the same storm, but we're in different size boats. And I always say, I don't care what size boat you're on, as long as you have a skipper by your side. And with that, I'm going to leave the screen. And Anna, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Well, Barbara, I'm thrilled to meet you. I was kind of excited to hopefully see Austin, because Austin wrote a show back when I was a sophomore in college, and I spent the summer working on it with him. Now, I was just a nobody in the corner, but it was one of the most memorable. It was like my first professional kind of thing, and he wrote it. And it was I can't even tell you. It's one of those things when you're young, and the people that were there, Gretchen Cryer and Word Baker and Arthur Rubinstein and all, like, they're like my idols to the day I die, because it was the first time I was just so starstruck, and I couldn't believe I was in the room with them. So please let him know. Like I said, he wouldn't remember me exactly, but that there's someone out there.
I will.
That is like, oh, really? I don't like.
Last night, as a matter of fact, in Night of the Iguana, he was Nano. And yeah, it was really lovely. It was wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So I guess all I can say is, Sean Patrick Murtaugh, you are so missed. It's so good to see you here. Phyllis Kinsler from Florida, thank you for joining us. It's so good to see you here. Alan, I'm a huge Diane Scher fan. That sounds interesting, what happened at the Kennedy Center. I just want to thank you all for joining us with Richard. I so appreciate Richard giving me this chance to be here. I just want to look forward to seeing all of our art getting out there live in front of an audience, and obviously also recording. And that's it. That's all I want to say. So I'm going to hand it over to Barbara.
Okay. I, again, want to thank Richard for giving us this opportunity. My doorbell keeps ringing. Just a moment. Anyway, for giving us this opportunity, allowing us to meet one another, and really a chance to express what we experienced doing this work.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Camille.
Well, I just want to say that this, what I said at the top of the show was so correct. Richard asked Anne, I think it was, what she did to fill herself up as an artist this week. And I fill myself up as an artist by seeing other artists shine. And every single person on this show, I saw their shows and they inspired me. I saw Jeff Harner do his Sondheim show, and his beautiful connection from song to song without words was something that inspired me deeply. Ann Kitteridge, I saw her movie night show. Just, glamorous, beautiful, incredible voice. And the moment at the end of the show where she sat as if she were a child holding popcorn and just putting the popcorn in her mouth inspired a moment in my own show, which I won't talk about because I want to talk about her. It was so delightful. And I walked out of that theater just feeling that, and I haven't forgotten it. And it was 2 years ago. I saw Barbara and Austin's show, Old Friends, and I saw it at Don't Tell Mama. And the way that they were so deeply connected to each other and to the audience, it was poignant and lovely. And I haven't forgotten that either. And then, of course, seeing Richard just the other day doing his Carol Channing show, what Jeff said about him was absolutely right. It was all of his talents all meshed into one beautiful show, particularly his rendition of that Oak Leaf monologue from the end of Don't Tell Mama, or from the end of Hello Dolly. If you see his show on the 26th, I think it is, look for it. It's amazing. So yeah, I've probably gone on too long. I'm definitely a fan. And I just want to say to anybody who's watching that I will continue to be inspired by the art that you put out there and that the world needs it. So have a great night and a great weekend.
I feel the earth move. I feel the earth move. I feel the earth move under my feet. I feel the sky tumbling down. I feel my heart start to tremble whenever you're around. Ooh, baby, when I see your face, mellow as the month of May. Oh, darling, I can't stand it when you look at me that way. I feel the earth move. I feel the earth move under my feet. I feel the sky tumbling down. I feel my heart start to trembling whenever you're around. Oh, darling, when you're near me and you tenderly call my name, I know that my emotions aren't something I can tame. I gotta have you. I gotta have you. You make the earth move. You make the earth move. You make the earth move. The sky comes tumbling down.